In 2011, my first band was on the verge of splitting up. We were graduating high school, going to college, going to work, becoming adults. It's a story as old as rock music itself, but to us it felt especially bittersweet. We weren't just a high school garage band. We were a group of best friends since elementary school who happened to all stumble onto a love of music. Throughout our teenage years, we spent hours in the basement playing, writing, exploring. We never toured, we never signed to a record label. We really only played a handful of shows for our friends. But what felt to us just like messing around with our endless free time was actually the beginning of something that would end up being a guiding force for the rest of our lives. We developed a deep passion for music that lives within us to this day. In a last-ditch effort to preserve our youth before our band was forgotten to time forever, we recorded an album of our original songs before we went our separate ways after school. We hardly had any knowledge of how to record music, let alone the gear to do it. So the tracks sounded rough, and unfortunately, time got away from us before we were able to finish the project, and the songs were left on my computer. For the next decade, I would occasionally open the old files and take a listen, maybe tweak something here and there as I learned more about producing music. The simple fact was that these raw tracks just weren't recorded well enough to really make the songs sound the way we heard them in our heads. But the ideas were there, and through all of it, we knew one thing: these tunes were good. Fast forward 10 years. We've moved all across the country, we've got new jobs, new friends, families, but we all still stay in touch. Personally, I find myself on the precipice of a new chapter of life: fatherhood. Again, I'm looking back and admiring all the accomplishments of my youth before I embark on the next journey. And again, I find myself listening to these songs from the last time I closed a chapter and started a new one. Still the same songs, still filled with nostalgia and great memories. We owe it to ourselves to see this finished, to apply all the knowledge and life experience we've gathered from the past 10 years and pour it all back into the music. Dan, Sam, Caleb, and myself, all working together again, remembering all the good times from back when we were in.
I'm Sam Raish, and I sing.
Dan Russell, lead drummist.
I'm Caleb, the bassist for A Year and Beyond, here to throw down some tracks, re-recording the full album of the tracks we wrote in high school.
Dan, it's been 10 years. Talk to me about the formation of the band. So even further back, going to like 2006?
Yeah, like middle school. It was, I think it all started, you, Sam, and I were hanging out and we were talking about like starting a band, and we were talking about like bands that we enjoyed, and then Caleb came in not too long after,
right.
And then Riley joined in like sophomore year, freshman year, and I think that's the original formation of the band.
My name's Riley Neal, and I played keys and guitar in A Year and Beyond.
You became our fifth member because we had the original band was the four of us, and then we played for a while, and then high school came around and we wanted to expand the sound.
And my role is kind of the bouncing around guy on the project, so a little bit of guitar, a little bit of keys, but it was a really fun role. I liked it because there was some songs where I had more creative influence, others where I didn't, and it was just fun to be a part of a group like that.
What do you remember about AYAB the most? Like when you think about when we played in the band, like what stands out the most to you?
We had some rowdy shows. It was a small, very dedicated core group of fans.
Yeah.
It was so fun. Every time it was always so fun.
For us, watching you as the front man, we literally did not know what you were going to do at each show.
Guys, there are really 5 girls in this audience whose dreams are coming true. All because of me.
I mean, it was a gamble. Like,
I didn't know what I was gonna do. I never had the set list memorized.
Every show we had like the core group was always there, and everyone would just jam the fuck out, and it was just a blast every day.
What's the favorite show of ours that we ever did?
I think about this a lot, actually. The our first show was pretty epic, our very first one, although like I was kind of aware of when we were doing it that like we didn't sound very good.
And let it go. Thanks, guys.
What was your favorite show that we ever played?
The one at Catch 419, the Christian youth place. It was one of those ridiculous like 6-band bills or something. And we of course got the headlining spot because we always were put on like the headlining spot for some reason. Because I think the bands we were playing with were a bit older and they all like realized that nobody would stick around then. That one, like everybody stayed around, and I remember because there's video footage of it, of us playing that one, and the entire place is like jumping up and down in sync, and that was really, really fun.
Sometime in February, the Dan Russell residence climbed down the stairs.
Yeah, it fits perfectly on this one.
And what do we have here?
What do you remember about the recording process for when we recorded those songs?
I remember it was just so DIY.
Well, as you can see, this is our professional, not normal vocal mic, and our real pop filter not made out of pantyhose and a coat hanger. Now it feels so janky. I mean, like the first recording feels very like thrown together.
Hey Dan, why don't you tell us what you're standing in front of?
That is the Sound Baffle
Really?
4000.
The Sound Baffle 4000. What happened to the first 3,999?
They burned.
We had literally no idea what we were doing, but it was great. Like, it obviously shows up in the recordings. It's a great snapshot of like where we were at the time, and I'm happy that we're coming back and doing this 10 years later and actually putting it out. 10 years of knowledge is pretty important to bringing to these songs that we wrote all those years ago.
What's been your favorite part about recording?
Just learning how recording works and like getting inside the songs and just seeing what to do.
What's been your favorite part about the entire recording experience?
Oh, Guess Who, I'd say. Playing Guess Who against Caleb while Sam's laying down his vocal tracks.
Oh yeah.
Caleb's a cheat, by the way.
So what has been your favorite part about recording?
Free pizza. at the
Free
Jamie
pizza and
household.
Guess Who?
And Guess Who. Oh,
Apparently Russell says you're a cheat.
it's not my fault. It's a natural talent.
I think it's going real well, especially for how we recorded the drums. Just like, I'm blown away.
Right now it's going pretty good. Everything's sounding pretty amazing. When we were in, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Especially with the whole group chorusing.
It's been 10 years now, not since the band started, but even since we recorded the album. You know, it was sort of at the end for all of us because, you know, we were all starting to focus more on different things. So there was kind of a weird sort of dynamic there while we were trying to finish this project before we all went off and did our separate things. So what do you remember from that time and from doing that recording with all that going on?
I can just remember at the time, I mean, I was on the wrestling team and I was spending a lot of time. There was a little bit of pressure just from the band of like, you know, you need to be here, we need to be writing, we need to be doing this. And that was a time I had to kind of, you know, I took that step back from the band. And, you know, I still remember being at the last show that you guys played and I was in the crowd watching. So I wasn't there practicing with you guys. It wasn't right for me to go up there and just suddenly be back in the band. I wasn't. It was the band was performing. I was in the band and I was watching as just an outsider. But I remember it was something that you said, the first thing you did when the show was done, you came up and you gave me a hug and you said you should have been up here with us. And that was it. That was all that was said. But I mean, that made me feel in the way of like, oh, I know all of us are going to stay friends to a degree, and there's probably going to be some reunion one day. And I think that told me, okay, I'll be a part of that. I'll have my role in whatever that reunion will be.
What would current 2021 Dan be saying to 2011 Dan going into this recording project?
Relax. During the album recording, I put so much pressure on myself to nail the parts, and like, this is it, like, you have to do this, especially because like the band was like kind of more or less breaking up at that time, because a lot of us were going off to school and that next phase in our lives, like post high school phase, and a lot of it was up in the air, and I was just really stressed out. I remember at the time, because like I wanted this to all work and be this big, like, beautiful, perfect thing. And it was just like, I don't know, just relax.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it.
I'm excited for this project to finally be like coming to fruition. It's been 10 years, which is insane.
What influence do you think being in that band all those years ago has had on you as a musician?
Oh, it made me like, it was exactly what I wanted to do. Like, that band had really good chemistry. And it doesn't always work like that. Like, even when I jam with people right now, there's like, you don't get that sense of like, oh, I know what this person's going to do next. That came from like the bond that we had. It definitely changed like what I'm looking for in a character for a band. And I think I was spoiled. I think I was like really spoiled with my first experience. And the times that I tried to jam with people after that, it didn't quite like feel the same or come together the same.
I feel like I learned from jamming with all of you. I became like the expert on how to jam and write songs in these other groups I played. They're like, we don't know how to write songs. I'm like, you just play until something works or someone brings a riff.
Without this band, I would honestly, like, without this band, I don't know if I would have continued to do music. It wasn't just a band, at least to me. Like, it's gonna be really cliche and kind of cheesy, but it was like a brotherhood. Like, it was 5 really close friends who have remained close friends for 10 years. Like, that doesn't happen a lot. Yeah, this band, like, means a lot at the time. Like, it meant everything to me, and it still means a lot to me.
I guess like this is what it kind of was. Like, you don't always have to put together like the best musicians, but like what you got to do is like find some people that you really vibe with, and like make, even if it's like not great music, just like it'll come out as good music because like you're having fun making it.
So this project obviously means a lot to all of us, but I feel like in a way I have the strongest connection to it because I was always the one behind the camera. And I was always the one documenting and recording everything. I went back and found my old video camera and all the old tapes. I took this thing everywhere and I filmed everything. And at the time I didn't really know why I was doing it. It felt just kind of more like making goofy videos with my friends or pretending like we were going to be some huge famous band and we were recording our big album. But in hindsight, I'm so glad I did it. And I'm so glad that we have this record of all of it. Because even though this is framed around a band making music, we have this documentation that, you know, shows so much more than just a high school band. I mean, these are some extremely formative years for us as musicians and as people. And these are some of the strongest friendships we've ever had and continue to have. I mean, it's been decades now that we've been friends. And to have that as a record that you can go back and relive all those moments, I don't think a lot of people have that experience or have that gift. And to see this finally get the sound and the release that it deserves is such a huge moment for me. So I'm just so glad that we're finally doing this. This is the right time to do it. And I'm so glad I documented all of it.
And
We have 3 minutes left. What we're gonna do is they're gonna come in here, we're gonna run out, and we're gonna play our hearts out, and they're gonna love us. Just remember that. This day, the first of many. Remember this day as the first of many. Ready? 1, 2, 3, fight!